Will you be driving May 8th? A lot of rideshare drivers won't be. Let's talk about it. Welcome everyone, Mark here from Uber Hints, and it is a beautiful day here in Wisconsin. It's 60 degrees, the sun is shining. I went to breakfast with a friend of mine this morning. He brought his Corvette. I've got my battery charger on my Vette. I've got my battery charge on my Harley, and I am waiting to get out there. I'm gonna mow the lawn for the first time this spring, and then on Saturday, 2 to 5 inches of snow. You heard right. Boy, I love Wisconsin. So today I am inside before I get out and enjoy this beautiful day. And I want to talk to you about the upcoming driver work stoppage that's planned for May 8th. Now, what I'm going to read to you is from Fortune, and they're quoting a lot from Gizmo. So if you want to go in and see the original source, those are two places you can find this. Drivers of the rideshare service are organizing, they're talking about Uber now, a limited time work stoppage in 7 cities to bring attention to their lack of benefits and recent pay reductions. Drivers are forming online groups in San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, Chicago, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. to organize the effort. The action is currently set for May 8th. So I'm sure you're hearing about this from a lot of different sources, and I did want to make sure that the word got out to the 7,000 of you that watch this channel as well. Joining the group are advocacy groups such as California's Gig Workers Rising and Chicago Rideshare Advocates. Beyond better salaries and benefits, workers tell Gizmo they are seeking decision-making transparency and a greater voice for drivers. Now here's the problem. All this is Jim Dandy, it's good and fine, but Uber already has a response to this, and you know that. They're going to say, what are you talking about transparency? We let you know exactly what's going on. We give you updates in the app, and we send you the email messages. And we even have our drivers group that we bring in, and we mine information from you. And we find out what your needs are and what your concerns are. You see, because so much of this is about appearances. And if Uber can show, yeah, these are just a bunch of sour grapes, you know, it's a small minority, because let's face it, it's going to be a minute percentage of people that are going to actually participate in this work stoppage, right? So it's all about how you spin it. Let's go on. Of course, it's unlikely that Uber will completely shut down in cities where the work actions take place, but it could drive up prices and wait times for customers. And drivers are increasingly congregating in Facebook groups and other social media hubs. That's true. One day where they wait a little bit, drop in the bucket. Actually, it's a drop in the ocean. Uber is still in the early stages of its IPO, and there's no estimated date when shares will be trading, although it's expected to be one of the 5 largest in history. Recent filings with the SEC, however, show the lead the company has over Lyft. Last year, it posted an $11.3 billion revenue versus Lyft's $2.2 billion. It had 91 million users in 2018 compared to Lyft's 30.7 million, and it has nearly twice as many drivers. Of course, we know that a lot of those drivers drive for both platforms. Now, when I think about this, twice as many drivers, and it's making, what is this, 6 times the income? So that tells me something right there. How is it that with twice as many drivers it's making 6 times as much money? Well, first of all, it's worldwide, and I would like to see the numbers just in the US. I guess we could look that up, but I'm just going from this immediate story. These are thoughts that are coming into my head. And it makes me wonder what would happen if drivers would keep driving but just shift to Lyft. Oh, I like that. That has a little rhyme to it, and it might be a really good slogan. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say Lyft's no better. Well, you can only slay one dragon at a time. So maybe our slogan, our rise, our hashtag should be shift to Lyft. And I didn't even think about this when I started the video, but I'm really digging it. And that way, if you can get those drivers that drive for both to only drive for one, Man, that one day of work stoppage sends a message. It's already in the media. This came from Fortune, which is a pretty big publication and website. But think about this. If you not only have a one-day work stoppage, but you have a mass action where everyone stops driving for one platform, I don't know. It might have an impact. I know work stoppage for one day, it's only going to be a percentage of drivers, and it's only going to be a percentage of time one day. It's going to have zero impact financially. But it can have a huge impact public relations wise. And that is so important on the eve of an IPO. Who wants to invest in a company that has labor issues? And even though we're not employees, drivers are their labor force. Drivers are their workforce. If they see they have disgruntled workforce, it's not going to bode well for them. So set your calendars for May 8th. Plan a picnic. Plan being with friends, family, getting some work done around the house. If you're in Wisconsin, maybe shoveling. Okay, we won't have snow on May 8th. But plan on doing something else. Shift to Lyft on May 8th. Whatever you do, stay off the platform. See if Uber gets the message. Uber knows we're doing this. They can't be missing out on this, right? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Leave it down below. Tell me if you think this work stoppage, even though it's only one day percentage of the driver's small percentage, if it'll have an impact. Those are major cities. We're talking about Chicago, LA, their home base of San Francisco, Philly, Minneapolis, huge cities. I'd like to actually see this make an impact. Now, letters. Let's look at letters.
You've got mail.
One in particular, our good friend Shireen wrote this to me. I took heed of your warning and of others who are not getting their bonuses. Now remember my video I talked about when they did not give the bonus to a rider because they temporarily took him off the platform during a background check, which he passed. I talked about not getting my referral bonus. And then many of you came on and said, yeah, I didn't get a bonus. I didn't give a bonus. You know that Uber is doing this. So I took heed of your warning, and no fault of their own other than Uber's dishonesty, which he's saying people are not getting their bonus because they're doing what they're supposed to do, and Uber's reneging. And I'm not driving for Uber until I get my $100 bonus. Good for you. I got a warning the other day about airport cancellations and thought that might be a prelude to them reneging on my bonus. So I'm not taking the chance. The day before I got this message, I'd taken 7 LAX trips with no cancellations, and some were very short. Now listen to this setup. She's saying that she took 7 airport trips, and then she gets this message about airport cancellations. Some of the trips I canceled from LAX prior, not on this day, but prior, were so short it wasn't worth my time sitting in traffic for 20 minutes just to pick up the passenger, and told them as much when I called the passengers from our staging lot and called it a night. So essentially she's at the staging lot, she sees this ping come in, she doesn't think it's going to be worth her while, so she cancels it, and then she calls the rider and explains why. Didn't turn the app back on, so they couldn't accuse me of cherry picking. So she said, everything that's coming in are short rides. They're not worth it to me. I'm shutting down, but she canceled a few prior. Suspect the reason I wasn't permanently banned from picking up from LAX, as some have been. So I'm driving for Lyft now. So think about this. Is this really a state of mind we want to be in? We have drivers, and now they have to be manipulating and doing all of these mental gymnastics. Should I turn my app back on? If I do, am I going to be accused of cherry picking? Is that going to result in me not getting my bonuses? Yada, yada, yada. For those whose bonuses have been reversed, I'd recommend going to an Uber hub in person. As from experience, you can actually get somewhere face-to-face with one of their people as opposed to them hiding behind a keyboard. There's some validity to that, although in my case, my friend did go down to the hub. He did explain, hey, I just signed up yesterday. There was no place for me to put the referral. Could I do this? And they said flat out, no, you can't. Of course, that's Chicago. That was a town that, revered Al Capone. Worth a try at least for $500. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, as the saying goes. So what she's suggesting is It's a lot harder for someone to say no face to face than to say no on a computer and just send out a pre-written memo that goes out to everybody that puts in this request. But the way we're hearing this more and more and more, I'm thinking, is there an action that can be taken against Uber? My personal experience was at one time, and this was a while back, but I know it happened. And I have no reason to doubt all of you that it's happening too as well. So what do you think? How many of you have actually gone down to the hub and said, hey, here's what happened. I want my bonus. Now, what they will say, I know that this person that we talked about in the last video or a couple of videos prior, he was off the app. It was off the platform, but not by his accord and by no fault of his own. And these manipulations are just so unfair. It's such unfair labor practices. But it seems like Uber just gets away with it with impunity. I just don't understand it. So I do understand it, but it's just hard to swallow. It's really hard to take. So I guess what I'd like to hear from you before we call this one closed is, number one, how many of you in those major cities, first of all, actually knew about the May 8th work stoppage, and number two, are going to participate? I want to know, do you think it's going to have any impact? Once we do this, do we have in each of those cities a voice? Do we have one voice that is going to speak for us? Because what we don't want is we have all these sloppy messages, and that is the most important thing when you take an action like this. If you don't have one good, solid message, it's got to be one that's easy for people to understand, an emotional one. Something that really reaches people and hits them. If we're just too vague, I want transparency, that's just become a catchphrase that it essentially means nothing, right? What we really want to do is come up with one solid message that we're sending out across the board. So whoever your leaders are, get together and make this one count. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Mark with Uber Hands.